halfway point in the season, it is the right time to take a look at where there might be some value on division and potential Super Bowl winners. Brought to you by MyBookie.ag. I'm George. Eric is alongside. Let's start with some divisions. And the interesting thing here is that oftentimes the market gets some things pretty wrong. Yep. Like at one point they thought the Raiders had a better chance to win the division than the Chiefs. And, well, if you listen to us, you would have perhaps profited a little bit. So let's start with some divisions here. What's one where you see the market mispricing things?
Yeah, I think in the NFC North, people are surprised by Chicago. They're looking very impressive defensively. They're the best defense in the NFC in terms of EPA allowed on early down passes. But if you look a little bit deeper, they've faced the third easiest schedule so far this year. So when we look at them versus the Vikings have already sort of gone through a difficult stretch of their schedule. We have them winning that NFC North 61% of the time. And so if you can get them for 110 like you can on MyBookie, I think that's a prudent choice.
Yeah, Matt Nagy, I think, has done some nice things, but Mitchell Trubisky has not exactly been great. And the results have actually been far better than the process for Trubisky. He's throwing more negatively graded passes than positive ones, which, just to remind you, is not good. You want to do things that are positive in general. He's below average from a clean pocket. So just on the quarterback side of things, it's, I think, very clear that the Vikings are the better team. And then I think actually they're better all around. So that comparison, I think there's no question about. The one that I think will give people pause is, okay, well, Aaron Rodgers plays for the Packers, and 125 times out of 100, I'm taking Rodgers over Cousins. So where's the argument to be made for Vikings over Packers?
Yeah, the Rodgers 6% big-time throws, of his dropbacks, only 1.6 of them are turnover worthy. So he's been terrific. And I think if you ran the season back, you'd probably, favor the Packers a little bit more than you did at the start of the season. But the issue is they're 3-4-1. They have Chicago and Minnesota, but they're both on the road coming up. So I just don't think the numbers stack really well for Green Bay. They are, a decided underdog here, and would be a long shot, no matter what kind of odds you're getting.
I think what we've seen with the Packers over the past 2 weeks is sort of a little bit of a foresight here. They will need some pieces to really pick up, right? They need that young secondary to step up. They need some of those young receivers to step up. And if they do, then I think those games will be a lot closer. But as of now, I think maybe, certainly not the favorite at this point. Okay, so let's talk about one other division that we had a little bit of a disagreement about earlier today, and that is the NFC least.
Yeah, and I think we look at Washington, they're a great surprise team at 5-3. Alex Smith, not necessarily playing great, but orchestrating an offense that has been just good enough with a defense that has been terrific so far this year. They are currently offered at plus 150 on MyBookie to win the NFC East, and according to our numbers, they're somewhere more around a coin flip. So there is some value on Washington, and I think what the market's probably doing here is overreacting to some of the injuries that Washington has had. Obviously it is important for them to get healthy, and that probably won't be the case as the season progresses, but I think 150 is just simply too good of a price to lay off of here.
So we had this debate earlier, and I tried to sort of mimic the, well, let me look forward and project Alex Smith with no offensive line having to beat the Eagles 1 out of 2 times, right? And I think that seems very daunting because Alex Smith just has not shown the ability to beat teams that can score points. And we saw that with the Falcons last week, right? They come in, they put up a bunch of points, and Alex Smith and that offense simply can't get it going. And look, Kirk Cousins, who has played well in Minnesota, was unable to take that supporting cast without an offensive line very far last year. But the odds here do give you some value, and that's the tough thing to sort of separate here is, look, they're not likely to win, according to the market, but they're more likely to win than the market would have them, and so that's where the value crops up here.
Yeah, I think the Eagles, with getting Golden Tate, right, getting a little bit healthier, I think, on the defense and the offensive line, there is some, I do think our numbers maybe underestimate them a bit, but at the same time, they have to play a pretty difficult schedule here moving forward, a lot more difficult than the Washington Redskins by our numbers. So again, it's just another one of those things. I think you want to fade the sentiment here.
Yeah, they have the Saints and the Rams coming up on the road. So I don't know, that's going to be a little bit of a challenge for them. All right, before we get on to the Super Bowl odds, I want to remind you that regardless of what sport you're watching, no matter the day of the week, MyBookie.ag has got you covered. They can make even the most mundane, I don't know, some midweek action or whatever it may be, really exciting. Head to MyBookie.ag. You can place a bet on anything from individual player totals to season-long projections, if that's your thing. Yep. So head to MyBookie.ag, use promo code PFF to get a dollar-for-dollar match on your first deposit. We use it, and I cannot have a single complaint so far. So head to mybookie.ag, where you play, you win, you get paid. All right. So let's say I have my mybookie.ag browser open. They should have their own browser. Forget Google Chrome. Just make it mybookie.ag. And I want to kind of pick out some teams where, look, they might not be the favorite at this point, but there is value on them. If they make a run at the Super Bowl, they get to the Super Bowl and they win the Super Bowl, I'm going to cash in. Let's start with the Rams here.
Yep.
Because the Rams are the prohibitive favorite. There's probably a lot of people that are excited about them, and they see, oh, I'm getting 3.5 to 1 odds, right? So I bet 100, I get 350 back. That sounds great. Yes or no?
Yeah, I think we expected after a loss to New Orleans that the Rams odds would go, up a bit more, but they've only went from 3 to 3.5, and that to me is still not offering enough value to bet them. We have them about a 14% chance to win the Super Bowl, and so in this particular case, they are one of the best teams in the NFL. We're not disputing that. We just think that the market is mispricing them here. So I would lay off a little bit and look more at the 3 other elite teams: the Chiefs, New Orleans Saints, and the New England Patriots.
Yeah, we actually don't think that the Rams should be the favorite to win the Super Bowl, and I think that makes sense, right? They are going to play potentially in New Orleans, right? If they make it that far, and the Saints hold serve on their end, whereas the Patriots have a chance, right? If they can just win out, basically, to have the game on their side of things with Tom Brady, Pat Mahomes. It'll be close, but I think we've got to give the edge to Brady there.
Yeah, New Orleans does have the toughest schedule moving forward here, but I even think, like, as you said, they're probably going to get the NFC Championship game at home, but even if they don't, the Los Angeles Coliseum is not the home field advantage that the New Orleans Superdome is. So in any event, we do like New Orleans to come out of the NFC more, and as you talked about with New England is still, weirdly, a 20% chance to win the Super Bowl despite all of the difficulties they had in the season's first 3 weeks.
Hey, don't hate on Los Angeles. The avocado toast they serve there can be very intimidating, gets the crowd riled up.
That's right. That's true. I forgot about
Be careful.
that.
So the 3 teams that are sort of in that group of 4 have value. The Patriots at 5 to 1. Right? The Saints at 5 to 1, and the Chiefs at 5.5 to 1. So if you are going to bet on the Super Bowl right now, you are wise to pick those 3 teams instead of the favorite, which is the Rams, and wait for the Rams odds, if they do, to come back. And look, if you don't get a value bet down on the Rams, it's okay. You will survive even if they win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And the Rams, they might go up, right? They face Seattle this week at home. That might be a tougher game than we envision. And then they face Kansas City beneath the border in a week from Monday. So you might not get the value now, but if you see it at 4.5, 5.5 to 1 later on, you might be able to bet them. But right now, I wouldn't advise it.
Okay, so those are favorites, right? They're good teams. We could see them going to the Super Bowl. But if things get wonky, and I've got a real long shot that is going to make it to the Super Bowl, I know. I think we know where we're going to head with this, but what is the best long shot at this point?
At 45 to 1, you can get the Atlanta Falcons, and right now we have them at about a 2.5% chance to win the Super Bowl. So there is some value there. Obviously, they got off to that 1-4 start. They've played a lot of home games so far, so 5 of their first 7 games were at home. And so there are some things that are in their direction that aren't favorable. But as we saw last week in Washington, they can go on the road, and they can be as explosive as they are in the Dome. And so, if they get the game in New Orleans to go their way, they could get get in that division. But more likely they're going to be a wild card. But we've seen them make runs before with more than just the 2 playoff games.
All right, let me make my case here. They're going to get Deion Jones back.
Yep.
He's fantastic. That offense is a top 4 offense, and I think can play with really any of the offense. I mean, I think those are so close together. So you got that game in New Orleans that you mentioned. That game is going to be in the Dome, so I don't really fear, I know the home field is there, but I don't fear that away game as much as I might an outdoor game for Matt Ryan in that offense. So they get that game to go their way, and all of a sudden, you've got a potent offense rolling into the playoffs, and they've got nothing to lose. Whereas last year, I felt like they were continually trying to meet expectations. Now they're just playing a little looser, a little more free. 45 to 1 is good. As you said, 2.5%, so we'd place it more at 40 to 1. So you're getting odds there, and guess what? You don't have to bet a lot to get a nice little payout. So take the Falcons, just don't brag about it. Put it in your back pocket and wait.
Keep it for the right time.
Yeah, wait and see. Don't get overzealous there. All right, we'll of course update these as we go throughout this season, so head to ProFootballFocus.com and the PFF TV YouTube channel to see all of our content, and of course subscribe to the PFF Forecast.